welcome to Drive-In Dishes. Today we're going to make mushroom quiche. Quiche is a really versatile meal. You can put anything you want to in a quiche basically. Usually it's a savory dish. So today we're making mushroom, but there's also ham and cheese quiche. Today I just chose to do mushroom because that's one of my favorite quiches. So what I've done is I've taken a pre-baked pie shell. All right, now I can teach you how to make a pie shell, but honestly it takes a lot of time, and it's just as good getting a pre-baked shell. Maybe some other episode we'll go through how to make your own pie shell. But I've taken actually a whole wheat pie shell. White is fine, but this is whole wheat. And what I've done is I've gone ahead of time and done partial baking of this pie shell. How did I do that? Before I put the wax paper on, I took a fork and stabbed the bottom of the pie shell. So I stabbed it several times, okay? I put this wax paper on top, and then I put these pie beads, pie chain on it. What does this do? This prevents the pie shell, because it is a dough, prevents it from bubbling up and becoming a big puffy dough. So these pie beads is something that I bought at the baking store. You know what else you can use is uncooked beans. So you could take uncooked beans and fill the bottom of the shell. Then I put it in a 375-degree oven for so far 12 minutes. All right, then I'm going to take this off. I'm going to take the wax paper and the beads off. I'm going to put it back in the oven for another 5 minutes. Because we've poked the bottom of the shell, it's prevented it from bubbling up, because the hot air came out through the holes rather than causing the whole pie shell to puff up like a big puffy dough. So I'm going to put this back in the oven for another 5 minutes. Come over here and put on the stove a tablespoon of butter with 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm going to throw in mushrooms. All right, so my favorite part of this quiche is that it has mushrooms in it. You could do plain old white button mushrooms and slice them. I chose portobello mushrooms because those are my favorite, so I've sliced a pound of portobello mushrooms. I'm going to throw that into the butter and olive oil. Okay, what am I going to put on top of that? On top of that, I'm going to put a clove of finely chopped garlic. Let's get a big clove there and press it with the back of my hand. And the back of my knife, excuse me, not the back of my hand. And we're going to chop up that garlic really small here. Be careful with your hands. And I'm going to throw that in with my mushrooms. You could probably put 2 cloves of garlic there if you wanted to. One more thing I'm going to put on there while it's cooking is half of a squeezed lemon. That should give you about a tablespoon of fresh lemon juice. So here's my favorite little lemon squeezer. I'm just going to estimate that half of a squeezed lemon gives us a tablespoon of lemon juice. All right, I'm going to cook that down until the mushrooms are basically dry. So the mushrooms are first going to render their liquid, which means that all that water inside the mushrooms is going to seep out. And then I'm going to keep cooking those mushrooms until it's nice and dry. And then we'll be back to Drive-In Dishes in just a few moments. Okay, welcome back to our mushroom quiche episode. So I sauteed these mushrooms in the butter and oil with the garlic and the lemon juice, remember, until they rendered their liquid, and then basically they were dry. So I'm going to season them with some salt and pepper. And by the way, I have my oven preheated to 375. And to those mushrooms, I'm going to add some chopped parsley here. We're going to coarsely chop these parsley. Take out the stems. Okay. Give it one more chop here. Okay. we're going to add about 2 tablespoons of fresh parsley to our sauteed mushrooms. Okay, next thing we're going to do now, we're going to get this cutting board out of the way. Okay, next thing we're going to do to get everything ready for the oven is put some freshly grated Parmesan into our pre-baked pie shell. Now remember I told you I used a whole wheat pie shell. I prefer to use whole wheat. Research has shown that your use of white carbohydrates or white starches is going to lead to higher glycemic index or higher glycemic rates. So that means higher blood sugars, more propensity toward early diabetes, but more importantly, more fat around the waistline, which we don't want. So I prefer to use brown carbs, whole wheat whenever I can, brown rice whenever I can. That is my preference. I think that's overall better. Well, actually I know it's overall better. So back to the cheese. I prefer to use freshly grated Parmesan. Actually, in this case, I use freshly grated Romano. So about 1/2 cup of freshly grated Romano on the bottom of my pie shell here to get it ready. Okay, next step, we're going to go back over here. And again, I've got some eggs. So we're using 3 eggs. And I prefer, and it's, again, this part is a personal choice as opposed to a proven fact. I prefer to use organic brown eggs. This part has not been shown to be definitely better to use organic, although I prefer it that way, and I think it is overall better to use organic eggs. So I use organic eggs, organic chicken, organic milk. Now, I don't use organic everything. I think that there's some benefits to dairy being organic, but not every vegetable I use is organic. All right, so we've got 3 eggs, and we've got 1.5 cups of heavy cream. If you like, you can spare your fat by using milk. You can use 2%. Yes, the taste is not going to be the same, but it's better for you. All right, we're going to throw in our 1.5 cups of heavy cream in there. Okay, we're going to whisk that together. Give it a quick whisk here. All right, and then we are almost ready to put this in the oven. One more step, we're going to add our mushrooms with our chopped parsley, our lemon juice, our garlic. Just scrape that all into there, all those pan scrapings. That's going to taste excellent. You've got your garlic and your lemon juice scraping out of there. All right, just a quick toss of the mushrooms into the cream and the eggs. And then we're going to pour it into our pie shell. Get all of that lovely liquid in there. Our pie shell is going to go into our pre-baked oven, preheated oven at 375. We're going to bake it for 30 minutes, and I'll show you how lovely that is when it comes out of the oven. Be back in half an hour, actually a few moments for drive-in dishes. Okay, we've brought out the mushroom quiche out of our oven. Ooh, that's hot, hang on. Okay, so let me show you what this quiche looks like when it's all done. It's beautiful. That's a beautiful mushroom quiche. And you know what I do when I have a bunch of people over? I do a couple of these because they're so easy to make. I probably let this sit in the oven probably a minute or two too long. But that's okay. It's still going to be delicious. It's just a little bit too brown on top more than I like it. But half an hour, 375 is all you need. And there you go. You've got part of a dinner. All right. Bilhana wa shifa, and we'll see you next time with drive-in dishes.